God dog it, we done made it to episode 9. This is Bob the Cigar Guy, Travelers Rest, South Carolina, and you are watching episode 9 of I Got the Smokes Let's Ride podcast experience with me, BTCG. And like I said, episode 9. We have made it 9 weeks in a row. Proud of myself, pat myself on the back, but my arms are tired because I've been working really hard. And you've been working really hard. It's 5 o'clock. It's time to clock out and go home. Let's get in the car and get to living, right? So thank you for letting me ride with you. I am excited to be here. I hope you're excited that I'm here with you. Man, hopefully one day we'll get together and I will get to smoke a cigar with you, whether in the car or not. But I guarantee you, if you come out to the studio, Travelers Rest, South Carolina, I got some cigars and we got some stories to tell. I'd love to hear what's going on in your life, and I'd love to tell you stories about my life. Most of them are cautionary tales, things that you shouldn't do, but some of them are funny and some of them are just cautionary tales. But like I always say, make sure you're driving safe. If you're driving, please don't watch this video. Just listen to the dulcet tones of Bob the Cigar Guy. That's right, man. But if you're not driving, you can check me out, look at me, but I don't highly recommend it. I have a face for radio. I really do. I look better in the dark. But drive safe. 10 and 2, 9 and 3, depending on what time or what year you were taking driving education. But be safe, watch the road, and have a good ride home. If you get to the house before this is over, cut this thing off. Get in there and get with the people you love and with the people that love you, and just enjoy. I will be smoking a cigar that I really love. I just did a review on it. Big old cigar, 7 inches right here. This is that Sin Compromiso Paladin de Saca. Delicious, delightful, lovely cigar. I did it on purpose because I really want to smoke a great top shelf cigar, and this fits the bill. I wanted something that was long enough that I could do a double duty and I could just enjoy my pufferation with you today. How's your day? Hope you're having a great day. I had a good week. I really did. It's been extremely busy at the car mill. We are pumping out cars. And there are small little tweaks and adjustments that need to be done to them, and that's what I do. I'm called a reworker. They bring a car to me in a bay just like a regular mechanic, and I fix them, which is really cool. So I get to fix cars that have not been on the road yet, because our customers deserve the best experience possible. And so they call on me and other fellers and ladies to make things happen. And that's what we do. We make things happen. But it has been extremely busy. I've been putting in 6 10-hour days every week, 7 on sometimes, and it is hectic. So I have to do double duty here on the channel. So I get everything done on my one day off. Shoot tons and tons of videos, and when I get home every night, I'll come in and I'll edit one and post it up. So I got to get all these done. So I did the Saca Sin Compromiso Paladin de Saca video already. Now I'll do the podcast and finish smoking this. Then we need to do our Sunday videos. We need to do a Drew's Day video. And this morning I already got done with an Aganorsa Rare Leaf, I think Corojo. Yeah, Corojo done. Check all those out. Why? Well, because I need the views. It helps. And I'm doing research for the First Lady on her Second Saturdays with the First Lady giveaway, just to give you a heads up. In the March 2nd Saturdays with the First Lady, probably drops at noon. It's live. You have to be watching to win. She basically does a comment. I always have my finger on the scales, my thumb in the pudding. But she does about 90% of the content, and I just give a little guidance and this and that, and she comes out with great format. She actually types it out like a college paper. Me and Chief are way in the dust on that, but she does a great job, and this month she's talking about tobacco from around the world, which is a really neat concept. Last month she actually did a video on the February series. She did a video on lounge etiquette, and if you're a non-smoker and you're going with your lovey to the lounge, what you can expect. Very interesting to see her perspective as a non-smoker. I was really blessed the day before the show. She goes, "Hey, I really need to do some research. Do you mind tonight if we go to 3-4 lounges and you smoke cigars and I get to watch the lounge?" And I said, "Oh my, I'll suffer for you, sweetheart. I will bite the bullet, be a team player, and help you out. So I got to go to 3 different lounges. We went to 3 lounges and got to smoke cigars. And her perspective was fantastic. We gave a huge Villiger themed giveaway. Huge, a dozen cigars. You get a dozen cigars in each and every month video, but there's also all sorts of swag. I mean, you basically had a lounge in a box. Mr. Matt won that, and then they doubled down. My Gracie, Caitlin Grace, was on, and she found one of my lighters, and we got a second giveaway. Hopefully that won't happen again, because they will give away everything that's not bolted down. I love them, but they do not respect my stuff. They want to give away everything. That's why the lock locks from the inside, so we can keep them out when we're not here. But this month, cigars around the world. First Lady and I just went to Europe on a cruise last year, and I got some Cubans. And in this giveaway, and this is what I'm telling you, you need to be ready for this. You need to be prepared for this. You need to be there second Saturday around noon to win, because I am giving away a 5-pack of Cuban cigars. That's right. Let me see if I got the pack right here. I'm not going to, well, I will hold it up, but please don't look if you're driving. Here it is. These are the, let me see if I can read it. 6 Cohiba wide shorts right here. These are not counterfeit. These did not come from the Bahamas. There's no true Cuban cigars in the Bahamas. These came from Europe, from a tobacco store. I think it's called Tobacco store. And I smoked them, and they perform just like a Cuban would. So you'll be getting a 5-pack of those, plus you'll be getting 7 other cigars at least from around the world. You'll also get swag. You'll also get maybe cutters. You may get lighters. You maybe get Travadors. You'll maybe get ashtrays. You may get hats. I don't know what I'm going to pull out, but it's going to be something awesome and phenomenal. So that is just a heads up that you're going to want to be a part of that giveaway. If ever there was a giveaway that you would want to be a part of that you don't have to pay nothing for, you don't pay nothing for it. Now, if you're underage, don't watch, don't win. If you're out of the continental U.S., you'll have to pay shipping. We're a small channel, and international shipping gets extremely expensive, and we can't swing it. So you'd have to pay the difference on that. What else? I don't have duplicates of everything I send, so we try to package it up to the best of our ability. But if the fine people of the United States Postal Service decide to play hockey and soccer and hacky sack with your box and it doesn't come perfect, I sincerely apologize, but there's nothing I can do about it. It's just one of those things. But we have done this twice, and both packages have reached them perfectly. The first package was a Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust package, and the person won one of those stone leaf looking ashtrays. They won hats. They won what else did they win? They won tons of cigars. They won some stickers. They won a lighter. What else did they get? They got a ton of stuff, and then 12 cigars on top of it. So that is something you're going to want to get a hold of. It is a good show. Had lots and lots of views. It's actually one of the strongest lives that we have right now. Our live shows, our live content. Chief Talk is great at 8:15 every Thursday. We have a lot of engagement coming on there. Chief is doing a great job. I've backed off a lot, so Chief does a lot of solo work, which is fantastic because he's amazing. He deserves his own platform to do his own thing, and he does a great job with it, that is for sure. And he is focused this year to get a lot more guests on. We've already had Terrence Riley on. I know he has plans for a whole bunch of other people to come on, and those are going to be shows that you're really going to watch on Thursdays at 8:15 South Carolina time. So that's the major plugs. I'm not going to plug Drew's Day every Tuesday, which is Drew Estate Cigar, or my Saka Sundays, which is basically my stories, a lot shorter than this. But I talk about crazy stuff, and then we've got all sorts of other videos and reviews coming out. Aganorsa is coming out this week. It's probably already been out before this video drops, but. The Aganorsa Rare Leaf, fantastic cigar, by the way, the Corojo. Come on. There it is. Man, I talked so much that cigar almost went out. Shame on me. And that's something for a Saka cigar. Because Saka has that gas station test, right? Where if he's got to take a little pee-pee break, get him some beef jerky and a soda, or whatever he's drinking, he sits it on the bumper of his truck, which I've been in his truck. Truck smells like a smoky humidor, but I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, it is all sake. It's all business, right? It's a serious truck, and it looks like a working truck, right? Love it. But he smokes in there all the time. Man smokes over 10 cigars a day. I mean, so you got to smoke every time, right? Been to his house, and he says, you can smoke in any room you want to. Cigars bought this house. So that's kind of cool to go in there and sit at his dining room table and smoke cigars with him. That was just fantastic. Anyway. But he lets it sit for about 10 minutes and he comes out, and if it's still lit, then he knows he's got the right the right bunch, the right blend, the right tobacco laying side by side that's going to give you that experience, because he wants to make sure that every experience is the best experience that you can get. I wanted to grab a great cigar, and what did I grab? I grabbed the Sin Compromiso Paladin de Saka. Nice little 7-inch stick, right? Loving it, loving it, loving it. But I want to talk some tobacco. Let me preempt this. I'm not smart. I'm not. I don't consider myself a great reviewer. I'm not. But I do consider myself smart enough to be blessed to surround myself with people who are in the industry that know what they're talking about and sit and listen. I will eavesdrop, as the kids say, ear hustle, these conversations, keep my mouth shut and just listen and learn. I've had the opportunity to sit with a good number of master blenders, tobacco men, tobacco women, and really just study. I also watch lots of YouTube videos and learn from them through the videos. And then I do my own research on the internet. Today I did a little research on the internet because I'm sitting here looking at my computer. If you keep seeing me, if you're driving, don't look. Keep seeing me looking up at the computer. It's because I have a little picture of the cigar tobacco leaf primings, because I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to get into some tobacco. Primings. All right, what is a priming? Priming is the way that you harvest the leaf on the tobacco. There are two ways to harvest tobacco. You have stalk cut, which is basically what it sounds like. When the tobacco has grown up to whatever height they want it to be, whatever maturation they want in the field, they basically chop that joker off at the root, right at the dirt, this real savage looking chopper, and then they take it in the barn and they hang it upside down. Why do they do that? The yields are less when you do that, because I'll get into that in a minute. But when you hang it upside down, the nutrients still try to push into the leaves, which is going to give you a little bit more aggression, a little bit more minerality, a little bit more tinniness, a little bit more turned earth, a little bit more pepper, a little more strength. Actually hanging it upside down for a while, those tobacco plants on occasion will actually start to grow new leaves. It'll keep trying to push out leaves even when it's already been chopped, already been done and dead. It's still trying to grow, and so it's pushing those nutrients into those leaves, and it's giving you added flavor and added strength. So that's stalk cut. Priming. Priming is really neat, because what they do is they wait till the bottom leaves are, and they'll usually pull off the very first set of leaves and just leave them on the ground, because those take a beating. The farmers walk through, the field hands walk through, and they step on those leaves, because usually let's face it, farmer gets paid by crop, by pound, right? And so they're going to crowd their plants where there's not a big gap where you walk through. I mean, when you walk through those fields, and I have, you are gonna brush up on tobacco. You're gonna step on some of those bottom leaves. You are, but you're gonna have lots and lots of tobacco on per acre. Now, there are different ways of doing it. Sometimes they crowd it even more for the purpose of the leaves on the bottom, and we're going to get into this, don't get as much sun. Why would you not want to get as much sun? We'll talk about that. So you may crowd it, you may make it really tight, and then you're going to lose those bottom leaves. Those bottom leaves just go. They just do. So those bottom leaves, they're just going to pinch off. They're going to get rid of once they get to such a size because they don't want to keep filling nutrients in something they're not going to use. They want that to grow into the plant, and that is your bottom liner, what they call volato. Some you don't use much, but then you have the seco, the viso, and the ligero. You'll see this on blends when you start researching tobacco, or you start going to websites looking for different blends, and you start reading all their blending information. Some master blenders will tell you exactly what level. Steve Stock is really good about this. Exactly what level the tobacco came from, and it makes a difference. Seco is going to be your larger leaves, but they don't get as much sun, and so they're not going to be as robust. Your viso is going to be your strength, but not your heavy push. The leaves on the seco are going to be thinner, and they're going to be a little bit more fragile. Your viso is going to be a little bit thicker, a little bit more robust. And then your ligero is your leaves at the top, your smaller leaves. They get a whole lot more sun, and they're going to be thicker and spicier and stronger. Now, you can cap your tobacco, and often they do. Once they come up to flower, they'll cut the tops off of them so that you don't build all the nutrients in the flowers. All the energy goes back into the leaves. You actually freak out the plant where it thinks it's going to die. And so it's like, look, we just lost our head, or the top of our plant. We're going to push more nutrients in there to try to get it to grow. There are other things that you can do by cutting the tops of the plants. The roots tend to drive deeper into the soil, which pulls out more minerality, which pulls out more robustness. It deals with not enough water. It actually makes the plant healthier and stronger. Sometimes they will actually, when they're in the stage where they're just in little seedlings in the greenhouse, they will actually take this lawnmower basically, and they will cut the tops off, which makes the roots grow a lot stronger. So when they plant it, there's a much better yield and strength in the actual tobacco plant. But there's hundreds of reasons why they do it and hundreds of reasons why they don't, based upon what they want the blend to be. A tobacco plant is amazing. Nicotina tobacco. It is amazing because it can change its varieties so much in the way that you handle the plant, in the soil, and whether you water it a lot or you don't water it, in the weather, in the way you crowd the plant, or in the way you top the plant, or whether you stalk cut or whether you prime. All these things have a big effect on the flavor. And it doesn't stop there, because then when you hang it in the barn, there's a change in that. And then when you get to the pilon process, boy, you can really pull flavors to the front or push some flavors to the back. You can really play with it. There's a lot of science, but there's a lot of art. It's amazing that a master blender has all this ability. And then, going deep in the weeds here, people, I'm getting nerdy, but then when you put the tobacco next to other tobaccos, when you roll it in the bunch, it's going to change the flavor profile of that cigar just by the way you place the tobacco. If you had 10 master blenders with the exact same amount of tobacco, the exact same tobacco off the same exact plant, and they rolled that tobacco, you could have 10 different flavors of the same exact cigar, same vitola, same everything. It's amazing how all that happens that way. And so there's lots and lots of test blends, and lots of, and then the rollers. If you roll it tight, you're going to have a difference in it. If you roll it a little looser, if your pack is not full, you're going to have differences in that. It's just, and then the tips, because the leaf is longer than the actual cigar is, and so you're pinching off these tips. And so if you've got some tobacco that's really spicy and you want to make it a little bit spicier in the head, which is the cap area, or you want to make it punchy in the front, in the foot, you can put those little tips in there as well, with those full length tobacco, it will give you different flavor profiles. If you want transitions, they may sprinkle some in the middle. Different blenders have different styles. They may front load, back load. All right, so you're getting a whole bunch of little information of things that I've learned from other people. So primings. The farmer comes through and he says, these bottom leaves are exactly what I want for whatever I plan this cigar to be. Let's pull these bottom 2 leaves. After they've gotten rid of the bottom velato, they'll pull the bottom 2 leaves and they'll go hang it in the barn. String it up, hang it in the barn. And put it on these. Sometimes they have a sewing machine that sews it onto a string that puts it onto a stick. Sometimes they punch it through a stick and then they hang it up. How close you hang the tobacco, how big the barn is, what the weather is of whether it's cool and then it's hot and then it's cool and it's hot, cool in the nighttime, hot in the daytime. It makes a big difference as well. So the airflow through it, that makes a huge difference of the way the tobacco goes as well. So you pull that first priming, your secos, and you hang them, and you let the tobacco grow for another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever days. Then you pull another set of primings. You get into the top of the secos or the bottom of the visos, you pull your visos. Then you go hang them. And then out of your visos, you'll say, okay, it's been another 3, 4 days. Let's pull some more, right? Now, then you get up to ligeros. You've got just a couple more leaves up top, and these are smaller leaves, but they are robust. They are monster leaves. Strength, strong, delicious, delightful, lovely. I mean, they are not little wallflowers. They are soloists. They're going to get on you, right? Because all this time the sun has been whooping down on these things, getting them nice and full of nutrients. The roots are freaking out because all these leaves are disappearing. They got less leaves, and they want to grow. They don't know that they're going to turn into cigars. They just think they're going to grow for the rest of their lives, their growing season. They want to live as long as they can, and so they push more nutrients to those leaves, and so they're pushing harder and harder and harder and harder. And then there's suckers and stuff like this, like on tomatoes. If you've got these little leaves that pop up every once in a while, you pinch them off so the nutrients go into the fruit, which in this fruit it's the tobacco leaves itself. And so you can change the strength by doing that as well, by leaving the suckers on or pulling a couple suckers off. And there's a lot going on here, right? There's a lot. I mean, have you ever thought about it? You pay $10, $12, $14, $15 for a cigar. Let's say you pay $30 for a cigar. 200-300 hands from seed to cellophane have touched your cigar, have done the pilon process, have worked the farm, have done the seedlings, have hung it in the barn, have put it in the bales, have done. It's amazing that these things don't cost $60, $70 with all the work that goes into these cigars, because there's so many. I mean, you can have the best tobacco out of the field. Gorgeous, perfect, going to give you everything that you want. And you hang it wrong, and it catches mold because it doesn't get enough airflow. It ruins that tobacco. So you get through the barn process, and everything is perfect. You put in the bales. And the person put in the bales beats the fart out of it, right? It takes a whooping, or it's too dry and it gets cracky. And then you get it there, and you can't make any wrapper out of it because it's got holes or binder, and you use it for filler. Well, man. But let's say you get a perfect yield. The weather's perfect. The water's perfect. You hang it in the barn, and it is perfect. Just a perfect breeze. It gets cool in the night, warm in the day. Just a perfect amount of time. It turns from that green to that golden, dark brown deliciousness. Then the guy or the girl puts it in the bale perfectly, lays it down like it's his last leaf, and he's got to make it perfect. And so he does that with the whole bale, and the bale gets shipped perfectly to the factory. And then that bale goes into the pilon process, which could take up to 2 years, depending. I mean, some tobacco that's thin, you can't work it real hard. Some tobacco, like a Pennsylvania broadleaf, is nice and thick, foot of crasso. I'll talk about that in a second. It you can beat it up a little bit. You heat it up a little bit, you flip it, you do all that, and then you do that perfectly, right? You do it too hard, you'll burn it, which makes it just shredded. It does not hold. It tears up the molecular structure, the cellular structure, a support structure. But let's say that's perfect. And then you get there after you've had this tobacco. Now you've gone a year, 2 years, 2.5 years from the whole farming process. And then you roll it up and then you do some test smokes because you want to see what the blend is. Because let's say you've got a Mexican San Andreas that's been in the same field every year. Like grapes and wine, the different seasons make a difference. So you have to see what it tastes like. You have to see what the blend was. If the different parts of the field, some of the fields have divots in it where the water kind of pools, or it's not perfectly flat. So the bottom of the field, more water runs down to it, less water stays up top. So you're going to have variance within the crop. And so you got to figure out how to do all that, and you get all that all maturated and fermented and ready to go. You roll it and smoke it. You say, okay, now what's going to go good with this? And then you come up with a great blend. And then the hardest part, I talked to Willie Herrera about this when the FDA was saying you can't make any new blends. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. I've asked other master blenders this. I just asked them a little nicer. I didn't think about it when I asked Willie this question. Willie is so kind, because I would have looked at me if I was him and said, well, shut up. I said, so you can't make new blends, so what is there a need for a master blender? I told you I was an idiot. I didn't say the smart way of saying it. I said, so what is the responsibility of the master blender at that point? And he goes, well, when somebody buys a Liga 9 that they smoked for 10 years, when they pick up that new Liga 9, they expect it to smoke like that Liga 9 did 10 years ago. Now, if you had a Liga 9 from 10 years and you try to smoke it now, it's not going to taste like a Liga 9 when you first got it. But to make the blend taste the same as it tasted when it was first produced 10 years ago is a very, very hard job, because you can't just say add an eighth of a leaf of this, a quarter leaf of this, a leaf of that, and da-da-da-da-da. Put your tips in here and here and here, because the leaf is a natural made product with people involved, and so there's a lot of variables, and so they have to juggle the variables to make sure that they add a little bit here, take a little bit out there, because the strength of the tobacco is not the same. So they want to make sure that you get that same flavor. Now, companies like Drew Estate, Aganorsa, Oliva, other companies, JC Newman, have tons and tons of tobacco. They don't buy this year's tobacco. They buy 12 years tobacco. And they can make the crops stretch, right? So every year can be the same exact flavor or really, really close. Smaller companies, they have a harder time because they don't get the first picks and they don't get to go as deep. So sometimes they'll put out some limited editions, some limited releases, because they know there's a possibility they may not be able to put out those releases in the next 5 years. Now, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, who does the Sin Compromiso, is not an extremely old company, but Steve Saka has been around forever, and he has great relationships, and he can get those things that other manufacturers of his size have a hard time getting hold of, just because he's built that relationship with all these manufacturers. He also is down in the factory every other week, pretty much, checking on quality, checking on blends, checking on everything. He is just got his thumb on the scale, making sure that when he puts out the product that he puts his name behind is the same experience that he wants them to have. So you go through all of that, and then you smoke it, and then you roll it. You say, let's roll a batch, and you roll a batch, and then you have to let it age. You have to let it sit in a cooling room. Number one, the tobacco, the fillers are dry. All right, but the binder and the wrapper are very moist because they have to be flexible. When you put it in there, you have to make sure that it has like a thin leather consistency because you don't want cracks or rips or tears or anything like that. And so you have to, it has to be pliable. And so it has to be wet, moist, I should say. And so you have to put it in a cooling room, an aging room, where the moisture, the room is humidified, and it allows everything to normalize so that everything on the inside is the same humidity as everything on the outside, and all the humidity is at a humidity level that will burn well, give you the combustion you want, give you the smoke that you want, give you the flavors that you want. Because too wet of a cigar, if you over humidify a cigar, number one, it's going to cork up. It's going to be hard to smoke because the tobacco swells up and there's no room for air to get through. But also, it'll muddy up the flavors. It'll mute some flavors. It will make it a different flavor. If you over dry a cigar, if a cigar is way too dry, the oils in it can't really do what the oils do, and you don't get the flavors that way. You also get bad burns, and you also get very hot cherry. If your cherry, the piece that's on fire, gets very, very hot, then your flavors can turn bitter. If you've ever hot boxed a cigar, what is hot boxing? Smoking real fast, and you get that cherry real, real hot. Number one, if you get a cigar up to too much of a temperature, you get more nicotine. Nobody wants more nicotine. It's not a nicotine delivery system. Tobacco, nicotine, or tobacco has nicotine in it, but your lungs absorb nicotine much easier than your mouth and your nares, the inside of your nose. And so you don't get all that nicotine. And so you don't really want that nicotine. If you're a new smoker and you feel like you have to spit a whole bunch, that's because your body's not used to any nicotine, and it says this is a toxin, spit it out. And so you can have that issue, which can make you feel kind of swimmy, lightheaded. If that happens, eat a little something, drink something sweet. Maybe have you a Coca-Cola with you or a sweet tea or something. Just kind of sip on that. That'll assuage that, slow down your puffing, and just go. So that's just a little extra I threw in there. So then the cigar comes out of the aging process. It's been through the greenhouse with the little seedlings. It's been through the field and the stalk cut of the primings. It's been in the drying barn. It's been in the bales. It's been shipped. It's been in the pilon process, the fermentation process. Then it goes into being rolled as a small batch. And then it's been putting in the aging room. And then you can finally smoke the cigar and know what the consumer is going to get. And in that batch, you have to say, all right, I like this, but I need a little more of that, or I need a little more of that. And then you set yourself up with a second batch. And then you have to let that age. So it is a long process. It is a lengthy process. This is not something you just slap together like a car. You really have to let it do its thing. You have to be patient. You have to work with it. And you have to allow it to do what it does. Patience. And by the way, master blenders smoke tons of cigars. I asked master blenders, I said, how do you keep your palate straight? You're smoking all these cigars. And they usually say, I either drink green tea or seltzer water. And that kind of washes the palate. And I've tried it, and I like Topo Chico, and I like green tea, and it does. It kind of resets. One of the ways to reset flavors, too, is a little bit of alcohol. You tilt the elbow a little bit if you do. And what that does is it just kind of washes the palate a little bit. It just removes all the buildup that's on your palate, on your taste buds. And it just gives you a reset. If you do that, you'll find a little bit of sips. If you do that, you will find that your cigar will just get a little brighter. It'll get a little more flavorful. It'll get a little bit more fireworks and just sparkles. Really, it really does. If you tilt the elbow too many times, it doesn't matter what your cigar tastes like. You can't really taste it because you're just having a great time. And I don't see a problem with that. Drink and drive. No. Drive responsibly. Drink responsibly in moderation. And just enjoy your grown-up things. If you're underage, you should not be smoking cigars. You should not be tipping the elbow, drinking alcohol. Those are grown-up decisions. Don't do it till you're old enough. You can make those decisions. If you choose not to, there's all sorts of other beverages that you can pair with. I do coffee. I do Diet Pepsi a lot. I do a lot of Diet Pepsi when I'm just smoking a cigar, enjoying myself. I'll have a little bourbon every once in a while. I avoid the fruity drinks. I avoid the very punchy drinks where it has a lot of different flavors in it because I really want to enjoy my cigar. But it's up to you. If you just want a cigar adjacent to your beverage, I mean, that's fine. Knock yourself out. Do it your way. It's about you in that moment. It's just you and that cigar. Even if you're in a room full of people and you're all smoking the same cigar, it's the only experience that you're having is the one that you're having and it's your experience. Grasso. Grasso. The fat. When you go through a tobacco field, if you ever get a chance to go through a tobacco field, and I highly recommend it, you have the farmer's permission, right? Go to a barn smoker, go to Cigar Safari, go to one of the other national events, get some tobacco seeds, grow in your backyard. Why not? It's kind of cool. They're pretty plants. You go up and you feel the leaf, the underside is soft like velvet. It's got these little hairs on it. It's really, really neat. But then if you go up into the leaf, and I would do it more towards the bottom because those leaves are going to be filler leaves usually, and if you put a little bruise on them, you're not messing up anybody's tobacco. But you pinch it, you squeeze it, and you'll feel it has a give. You feel it has a squish between the outsides, the skin of the leaf, the top and the bottom. There's a gush. And that's the grasso, the fat. If you don't have that fat when you put it in the fermentation process, it burns up. That fat it just gives you the ability to really put the ferment. It's the starches. And when you ferment it, what you're doing is you're turning the starches into sugars, which gives you that sweetness, that inherent sweetness tobacco has. Now, I'm not saying it tastes like Splenda or maple syrup, but you'll notice that when you're smoking, you'll taste a little bit of sweetness, like a good steak, medium rare, seared on both sides. When you eat it, it just has this sweet quality to it, a savoriness, an umami in it, and that tobacco has that. So another little information: the top of the very tippy top of the plant, you can have double Ajero, and you can have what's called Corona. Corona is a very small leaf. It's actually the crown of it's called the crown of the plant. Those are very spicy. Those are very heavy. Those are very small, and they're used in moderation. Not many blends use them because they are big. They are strong. They are punchy. They're going to grab you. If you get into, let's say, Camacho had a triple Maduro. That joker was a powerhouse. There's other manufacturers that have triple Maduros. They are powerhouses. Those jokers are just strong. They're punchy. Eat something before you smoke it. Sit down. Don't plan to run a marathon. Not that I ever would. If I'm running, you see me running, you take off running because whatever behind me is very, very big and very, very bad because I don't run for many reasons, and that would be the main one. So take off too, because whatever's chasing me might choose to chase you because I got faster. If you can't outrun me, boy, I tell you what, you in trouble because I don't run fast. Soil makes a difference. If you have a sandy soil, your roots don't have to fight as hard. They go down and they find water. You don't put your plant under stress. When you put your plant under stress, it pushes more nutrients. Some tobacco fields, I've had the opportunity to get in a tobacco field first thing in the morning before sunlight and stay there till nightfall. And depending on the plant, depending on the way the farmer does it, you will find some plants in the middle of the day will wilt. They will look like a mess. They will look like they're dying, and you're like, God, they're tearing these things up. And in the evening, they will come back, and they actually do that to stress the plant because they want to pull more strength, more flavor out of it. If you're going to do something like, let's talk about a Connecticut shade. Now, that's a whole different beast. Number one, it's thin, right? That's why Connecticut shade wrapped cigars have issues, sensitivity to climate and humidity. If you are smoking a Connecticut shade in the winter outside and the humidity is down to 0 or 10 or 20 and it's extremely cold, the cigar came from 70 degrees in your house, 70% humidity, you go out there, you fire it up with a torch at 1800, 2200 degrees, sometimes that cigar will bust. It is not the manufacturer's fault. It is the fact that you have a blend that does not tolerate the swing of high humidity, low humidity, high temperature, low temperature. It just can't handle it because it's not elastic, because it's very thin. You get a Connecticut broadleaf, Mexican San Andreas, Brazilian Matafina. You get something like that that's thicker, that's more robust, then you don't have as many problems. But let's say you're a new smoker and you don't want to smoke that heavy stuff. You're not ready. You have not aged into the experience of a heavier cigar. What do? Okay. I'm going to help you. Keep your band on, number one. Don't take your band off. Twist your band a little bit to make sure that there's no glue under the band, right? You're just going to work it nice and slowly so you don't have any glue attached to your wrapper so that it slides easily. You're going to slide that band down towards your foot within an inch of the foot. Right? If you didn't crack the wrapper, sliding the band off because the glue is attached feels a good band. You're not going to have any problems up there. But if your tobacco splits, it usually splits from the area that's the hottest. It starts to work there and it cracks and the crack runs up. Right? So if you have that band there, it's like a safety belt. It's like a seat belt. It's like a security belt. It's like a weight belt that doesn't allow it to push up and through. And that crack may crack a little bit, but it stops the band. And as you're smoking, you just move the band back, and it mitigates the possibility of a crack running up and ruining your cigar. You don't want that, right? You want to smoke your cigar. You pay good money for it. You spend time with it. You're looking forward to it. This is your moment of peace and pause, and you want to have a great peace and pause. I know I do, as much as possible. Also, I will do, technically it's called dry boxing. It's not really dry boxing. Dry boxing is you take a cigar that you want it to dry out a little bit. It's humidified. You want to take a little humidity out before you smoke it, maybe a day before. Some people a week before. I don't see that myself. Sometimes hours before. You take an empty cigar box and you put the cigar in there. And the humidity in the cigar box is less than what was in the humidity of your humidor. Tobacco likes to do whatever its environment's like. So if it's in a 70% humidity, over time it will pull up to 70%. If you're in a 20% humidity, in time it will go down to 20% humidity. So by dry boxing it, you're actually you're wicking out some of the moisture out of the tobacco. What I do is I will take in the wintertime, if I'm going to smoke something like that, not in the studio, if I'm outside. The studio, I don't have a problem because it's 70 degrees in here, even though it might be snowing out there in South Carolina. It's not snowing in here, so the cigar doesn't experience that cold. But if I'm outside and it's cold, I'm going to sit that cigar outside for an hour. I'm just going to let it sit. I'm going to let it get comfortable, right? It's going to push out a little humidity, and the tobacco is going to get a little colder. It's not going to have that expansion contraction issue. It's already doing it before I put fire to it. When I light it, I'm going to light it with a single jet. I'm going to turn my single jet down. I usually use a triple or a quad. I like the big boys, and I like to run that fire up as large as you could see it from space. It looks like the back of a space shuttle or one of those Elon Musk rockets. I mean, it's a huge flame. I like doing that. It's just feel like a dude. When I work on my forge, I like to light my cigar off the iron, the steel that I've got in the forge. I think it's just cooler than snot. I don't know if it's good for me, but I don't care. I just like it, and I do it every once in a while. It's just fun. But in the wintertime, I'm going to dry box it. I'm going to let it sit outside, and then I'm going to use a single jet. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to really take my time toasting it. I'm going to slowly allow that tobacco. I'm going to keep the flame off the edge of the foot. I'm going to spin it around until it starts to turn charry black, and then slowly watch it get that little white ash on it. When it gets that little white ash on it and it's turned completely black, then I'm going to move my my flame a little closer. Still, the blue part of the flame is not going to touch, but I'm going to move it a little closer until it starts to show those little red-orange spots that starts popping up. Then, once I get the little orange spots popping up, I'm going to move in for it, and then I'm really going to toast it up really, really good. And then I'll put it in my mouth and I'll puff on it, turn it around, blow on it, and make sure everything is burning right. If not, I'm going to touch it up some more. I'm not going to put the cigar in my mouth and light it while I'm puffing on it, while I'm drawing in on it, like most people do, because I'm just introducing too much heat. Do you have to do all that? No, you don't. But I find that I have the best chance of a great smoking experience if I dry box it, I set it outside, I slide the band down, I slowly toast it, and then I can just enjoy smoking the cigar. I smoke it in tempo. I don't smoke it extremely fast. I don't try to get the cherry large and hot, even though it's cold outside. I get a smaller cigar if I feel like I don't want to be out there for a long time, instead of trying to hot box a cigar, trying to smoke it so I can get back in the house. And this is my luxury time. It's not something I have to do. It's not something I'm chasing after because I have to have that cigar in my mouth because I need some chemical release or some garbage like that. I do it because I just want that mental pause. I just want that moment of peace, right? And so I want to make it a good moment of peace. So I might smoke a smaller cigar. I might fire up something that's just a little bit littler. But many times, I don't smoke light cigars. There are some cigars that I love that are lighter cigars, but they're few and far in between, and I'm usually into the deeper, robust cigars. I am. Now, my palate goes all over the place, especially doing reviews. I get to be experienced to a whole bunch of different cigars. But wintertime, I'd highly recommend, if you can handle it, I would do a heavier, fuller-bodied cigar. I would. Even if you smoke a smaller cigar, I would go with that. It's going to give you a better chance of smoking experience. And that is today's lesson on tobacco, right? Pretty cool. I think it was a good. Leave me a comment, because I'm thinking, because I'm a nerd. I like learning these things. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to talk about Star Wars. You want to talk about movies, or you want to talk about my goofy stories. I mean, leave me a comment. Tell me if you like this kind of content. Because I have sat in some rooms with some amazing people, and I have amassed a lot of information that I can share with you if that's the stuff that you like to talk about. I can also talk about goofy stuff. I don't mind, but I'm here for you. I mean, I'm going to smoke a cigar regardless, but I like smoking with you. I also hope that it helps to grow the channel. It brings in new people. I mean, podcast is the big thing right now. And so doing long content, podcast and TikTok, right? The two ends of the spectrum. And I am not a short content guy. I cannot put all my ideas into a very small period of time. I talk too dang much. And so me and TikTok don't get along. And I don't care for TikTok anyway. It would be shorts or reels or something from Facebook or YouTube. But Instagram. But I like the longer content. Podcast fits, right? So at least I think it does. Now we've got 12 minutes. We talked a lot. 48 minutes talking about tobacco. I mean, we got into the primings. We got into top of your tobacco. We got into the barns. We got into the pilon process, which I could talk a lot about the pilon process. I'm amazed at the pilon process. I mean, you go into a room that does pilons, which I have. The ammonia that's released out of the tobacco is in the room, and some people can't handle it. Some people just, they walked in, turned around, and walked out. I was in it to win it. But, you know, I could get into the differences between the cigarette tobacco and the process of cigarette tobacco and the process of cigar tobacco, and why it is so much different, and why cigarettes are so bad for you and cigars are not. I'll tell you real quick. I'll back this up with this. There was a 10-year study, 20-year study over in England about cigar smokers, and they followed cigar smokers. And the study, I'm going to break it down real fast, real simple. A person who smokes a cigar, 1 to 2 cigars every day, long filler premium cigars every day, that has never smoked cigarettes, has the same level of possibility of getting cancers from respiratory and all the other things as somebody who has never smoked anything in their life. Now, cigars are a grown up decision. There is risk. It is not bottled water. I'm not saying that, but it is not the same thing as cigarettes or the machine made gas station, quote unquote, filler cigars. That's a whole different thing. And if you want to talk about that, we could talk about that. Leave me some comments and say, hey, I'd really like to talk about that, because people talk about that when I say I smoke cigars, and they're like, oh, you're going to die. We're all going to die. Not all of us are going to live. But you can kind of give them some evidence with kindness. Nobody ever hears any of your points if you're yelling and screaming at them and making them feel like an idiot. I truly believe that. But let's get off tobacco for a minute. We got 9 minutes now. I was so happy to sit down with the First Lady and watch a movie on TV. Now, I liked the movie because the trailer, I'd seen the trailer and the shorts, which led me to want to watch the movie. It actually followed the trailer. A week ago, me and the First Lady sat down and watched a movie, which was a great movie. It's a fantastic movie. Morgan Freeman was in it. But it was nothing like what we expected it to be. It was a Netflix movie. And then I'm talking about people going through substance abuse and all the downs and the negatives and the struggles of substance abuse. I mean, it was a great movie. It was fantastic. First Lady is in the mental health industry. She's a counselor. And so it was neat for her to watch it, and I enjoyed watching it. But it did not, I was expecting a lighthearted show, and this thing was just heavy as bricks. And so I'm like, God, no, that's not what I was signing up for. So we watched a movie last night. It's called The Gorge. The guy who was in Top Gun Maverick, the son of, what's that guy's name? Help me out here. Oh, I forget his name. He was the son. He was the one that was mad at Tom Cruise. He ended up flying with him in the plane, and they ended up becoming Brewster, I think is his name. He was the actor, the main actor. And the girl she was from The Queen's Gambit and from Peaky Blinders. She was one of the wives near the last season of Peaky Blinders. And a great artist, or great actress. I guess I call them actors now, but I call them actresses. Great movie. Gorge was these two snipers had to sit on both ends of the gorge. They weren't supposed to talk to each other. Some were from the Soviet bloc, some were from the European bloc, American, the communist and the non-communist, the democratic people. And they were supposed to protect things from coming out of the gorge. And there were these crazy monsters coming out of the gorge. And then you find out all the underpinnings and all the this and the that, and they fall into the gorge because they fall in love and they do things they're not supposed to, and they have to battle out of this thing, and then it has twists and turns and foils and lots of stuff. It was amazing to me because it was a very engaging movie. There was a lot of violence, but it was never crazy violence. It was bad. They were shooting people. I mean, they were both snipers, but there was no cussing, which was nice, and you didn't miss it. I mean, I understand cussing in a movie that feels like that's what they're supposed to say. I get it. And there was no sexual content, no nudity, nothing like this. I think, what's his name? They caught him on a small closed-circuit TV running through the woods. They showed us Tookus, but that was it. And you had to strain to see it. You'd have to pause it and zoom in it. And I'm not doing that. And the First Lady might not be doing it either, but she's not gonna. It was not overt sexuality, which I really, really appreciate. And it wasn't needed. The story was strong enough. It stood on its own. Fantastic movie. 2 hours and 15 minutes, I guess it was. And you didn't even notice that you'd been there for 2 hours and 15 minutes, except I had drank a big soda and I had to pee. And luckily I got my snacks before I sat down. Peanut butter pretzels is my poison of choice. I love me some Costco peanut butter pretzels. They're cheap and they're good. And I actually, my ADD, OCD, PDSQ, whatever alphabet you want to throw in there, I actually count out my pretzels. I have 40 pretzels, 40 little pretzel bites. Don't judge me. And my dogs, my wife's dog, Big Head, who's a Mastiff. No, he's a St. Bernard, 120-pound dog. And my daughter's dog, who stays with us, which is a German Shepherd, Nala. She's 80, 90 pounds. Every time I sit down on the couch after work at night before I go to bed, the First Lady's in the bedroom. She's watching stuff on her TV, Heartland and horse stuff and all that stuff. And I'm watching usually Modern Marvels or Forged in Fire or Storage Wars or American Pickers, and she can't stand that. And I don't like horses, so we just split up. I'll sit there on the couch and I'll eat my pretzels, and the dogs will come over and they get 2 pretzels apiece. And they sit there and they'll wait till they get their pretzels. They're very, very polite because I'll pop them in the head if they're not. Just because they're big dogs doesn't mean that they are the big dog. That's me. I'm the big dog. What? I talked too long. My cigar went out. Shame on me. So, we were sitting there and the dogs were eating their pretzels. I was eating my pretzels. First Lady got a couple pretzels. I drank all my soda. And then after the movie was over, I'm like, ooh, I got to pee. And so I knew that it had been a while. So how long was this movie? And it was 2 hours and something like that. So we enjoy our time. We're old. We don't go out, clubbing or stuff like that. We like staying home pretty much. We go out to dinner or something, but movies are expensive, and I can watch most movies at the house in my bedclothes. Just chilling, right? No shoes, right? Living easy in a comfortable seat, right? Don't even have to drive nowhere. It's still so good. Still so tasty. I gotta touch that up a little bit. I let it burn a little wonky. So, we've been diving into the series Silo. Sadly, Silo was only 2 seasons. We've enjoyed doing that. That's just our time. That's just what we do when we get a chance. If I have a day off, we'll sit and watch a couple Silos before I do a review, or we'll watch a movie, or we'll watch some videos or something. It's just a thing we do. I just enjoy it. I guess I'm just giving you other than tobacco content, things that have no value in your life, except maybe, hey, I do that too. Because nobody needs to know that I sit in there in my socks and bedclothes watching TV with First Lady on the couch, right? I love her bunches. That's my girl. Been married 33 years, 34 in April. She is very patient, and I am very blessed. Got 2 great kids, got 5 great grandkids. Love the grandkids more than the kids. Because I don't have to clean diapers. I can send them home. I don't have to teach them tons of lessons. I can give them lots of sugar and candy and not care that they can't sleep. Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm that Big Daddy. And that's what they call me around here, Big Daddy. I picked my name. I did not want to be called Papa or Grandpa. Not that I'm shading anybody for that. Just me. I felt like I don't want to be that old that fast. So, Big Daddy is the thing. Grandkids call me Big, which fits. But that's it. We got a minute left, and so we have to finish this thing up. If you're sitting in the driveway, for God's sakes, get in the house. Go be with the ones you love and the ones that love you, because, boy, their life is better because you're in there. My life is better because you're here. The world is better because you're here. If you're going through some struggles, keep going. There's nothing so overwhelming that you need to clock out quick. You need to be here as long as you can, because the world is a better place with you in it. And I do believe that. You deserve love, and you're worth loving, and you have love to give. So please give that love appropriately. And let people just know how awesome you are, because I know how awesome you are. I may never meet you in person, but I know that you are destined for greatness. When you do the things that are your nature, man, there's nothing better. Gosh. You're the best you that you can be. That's the truth. We all make hard decisions. We all make mistakes, but that's okay. It's not based upon what we do. It's based on who we are. And who you are is awesome. And I love you. So I hope to see you next week for episode 10. God dog it, 10. Man, we are killing it. We're almost 20% in. That's fantastic. But I got 6 seconds, so I got to tell you, I love you. And I'll see you later. Drive safe. Later, Tater. Have a great day.